Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. This is book of social studies of grade 5. And students, today we are going to start our topic from unit number 2, as you can see here, and math skills. And focus is using the scale. And the next topic is large scale map and small scale map. Students, let's try to start our today's lecture. On textbook page number 17, as you can see here, methods to show scale. First of all, let's revise our definition of scale, as we have already discussed in our previous lecture. And what is scale? The scale of the map shows the size of the map as compared to the actual size of the area that the map is showing. Scale bars are useful as they help us to calculate exactly how big or small a feature is in an area. So, मज़ीद अगर इसको आप आसान लफ्ज़ों में इस डेफिनेशन को करना चाहते हैं तो इन सिंपल यू कैन से कि ज़मीन के फासलों को जो हम नक्शे पर छोटे छोटे फासलों से तशबीह दे देते हैं, दैट इज़ कॉल्ड द स्केल और पैमाना, उसको हम पैमाना कहते हैं. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट we know how to read, understand and use the scale. Map makers use three common methods, and these three common methods are graphic method, verbal method and fractional method to show the scale. Let's start first method, the graphic method. A graphic scale depicts scale using a line with separations marked by smaller intersecting lines similar to a ruler. One side of the scale represents the distance on the map. Yani, as you can see here that it looks like a ruler. And और इसकी एक साइड क्या होती है, नक्शे पर मौजूद जो फासला होता है उसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रही होती है, और इसकी जो सेकंड साइड है एंड द अदर साइड रिप्रेजेंट्स द ट्रू डिस्टेंसेस ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स इन रियल लाइफ. और इसकी जो दूसरा सिरा है वो हकीकी ज़िंदगी में ऑब्जेक्ट्स या चीज़ों की जो हकीकी फासला है उसको शो कर रहा होता है. By measuring the distance between two objects on a map and then referring to the graphic scale, it is easy to calculate the actual distance between those same items. Students, as you can see here, how to use the graphic method. Now let's start the second method to show the scale, the verbal method. On textbook page number 18. As you can see here, in verbal method, the scale is described in words and numbers to show the ratio between the map scale and the actual world. यानी एक्चुअल वर्ल्ड में और मैप स्केल में जो रेशो दिखाई जाती है वो हम या वर्ड्स में लेते हैं और नंबर्स में लेते हैं. एज यू कैन से अ मैप में से 1 centimeter equals to 100 kilometer. This means that 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 100 kilometers on the earth's surface. As you can see here, 25 miles and 1 inch equal to 25 miles. यानी ये रेशो कितनी की है, 1 और 25 की. So the verbal method is easy too. Just measure the distance on the map and then follow the verbal directions to calculate the real distance. Now come towards the third method, that is the fraction method. In this method, the scale is shown as a ratio or fraction. A map may show 1 ratio 10,000. So it means that 1 unit of distance on the map represents 10,000 of the same units of distance in the actual world. So as you can see here, how to draw a verbal method and how to draw a fraction method. Now students, turn out the page number 20. And here, as you can see, the topic large scale map. A map which shows a small area is called a large scale map because The area of land being shown on the map has been scaled down less. Its scale is larger. A large scale map shows a small area but it shows it in great detail. यानी मुख्तसरन ये हम कह सकते हैं कि लार्ज स्केल मैप एरिया बहुत दिखाता है, एरिया कम दिखाता है, स्मॉल एरिया दिखाता है, बट इंफॉर्मेशन उसमें ज़्यादा होती है. So the smaller the number on the bottom of the map scale, the more detailed on the map will be. So street maps are example of large scale map. यानी street maps example है large scale map की, कि large scale map में जो street maps शो किए जाते हैं उनमें हमें information ज़्यादा मिलती है. यानी maybe they can count the number of the houses that are located in that street. So this large scale map gives us a lot of detail but show the small area. Next one, as you can see here, small scale map. A map showing a large area is called a small scale map. In order to show the whole country, the map is scaled down until it is many times smaller. A small scale map shows more area but there is very little detail. A globe is an example of a small scale map. It is opposite of large scale map. यानी small scale map area ज़्यादा दिखाता है but information उसमें बहुत कम होती है. यानी globe में जैसे कि आप देखते हैं कि हमें एरिया उसका बड़ा दिखाई देता है, large area वो शो कर रहा होता है but very little detail. As you can comparison between large scale map and small scale map. Now students, we are going to get the more information through seeing this tutorial. Kindly see this tutorial very carefully.
Understanding scale when working with maps is important because all data represents a modeled reality of the Earth. It's not possible to put all of the information we find in the real world onto a map, so we have to make compromises. Scale is one of those compromises. Scale lets the user understand the degree to which geographic information has been simplified on a map. You may have noticed the effect of scale on what features are shown when you zoom in on an online map like Google Maps. Map scale is typically described in two different ways. There are large-scale maps and there are small-scale maps. Large-scale maps show a smaller geographic area, but typically contain a higher or larger amount of detail. Small-scale maps tend to show a larger geographic area but contain less detail or a smaller amount of detail. One way to understand the scale of a map is to look for the scale representation on the map. Scale is a ratio of what distance on the map represents the distance in the real world. There are three main ways that scale might be shown on a map. There's a graphic or bar scale, a verbal scale, or a representative fraction. Bar graphs are a way to visually represent scale. Essentially, bar graphs serve as a ruler that shows how the distance on a map represents the distance on the ground. Verbal scales use a ratio of one type of unit on the map to indicate the distance that unit represents on the ground. For example, 1 inch equals 100 feet. This means that 1 inch on the map represents 100 feet on the ground. Representative fractions is similar to verbal scales, but is independent of any specific type of measurement unit. For example, you may see a 1 to 100 ratio. This means that the unit on each side of the colon is the same. Therefore, in this example of 1 to 100, it could mean 1 inch equals 100 inches on the ground, This same map holds true for 1 centimeter on the map is equal to 100 centimeters on the ground. The type of unit doesn't matter. The larger the number that the map distance represents on the scale indicator, the smaller the scale of the map. This can be confusing to many, but think of it in this way. The small in small scale refers to the small amount of detail represented on the map. So why is scale important? Well, here's one hypothetical. A geography professor asked 3 students to find geographic data and measure the coastline of Britain. Student A comes back with 2,400 kilometers. Student B comes back with 2,800 kilometers, and student C comes back with 3,400 kilometers. Which student got it right? Well, actually, the professor says, all the students are correct. So how can this be? This problem is known as the coastline paradox. Remember that smaller scale maps compromise showing a greater area by simplifying the geography. As you have learned, large-scale maps contain more detail than small-scale maps. This figure shows an underlined map of a highly detailed British coastline. The orange line on top shows how the coastline is drawn based on the scale of the data. The map on the far left is a small-scale map, and the orange boundary is very generalized or simplified. The map on the far right represents the largest scale and contains a far greater amount of detail in the nooks and crannies of the coastline. If you were to straighten out the coastline, all of those nooks and crannies add a great deal of length to the total. So this has been a quick presentation on understanding map scale. The key points to remember are that maps are a representation of reality, and map scale affects how accurate that representation is. Large-scale maps show a smaller area with more detail and tend to be more accurate. Small-scale maps show a larger area, less detail, and tend to be less accurate.
So students, I hope after listening and seeing today's lecture and tutorial, you will be able to understand today's topic, and you will read the textbook page number 17, 18 and 20 and learn the meanings of difficult words, exploring new vocabulary on textbook page number 25. It's your today's task, students, and thank you so much for listening me, and have a nice day.